Hey, what's up, you guys? So, if you have been living under a rock, you may not know that the January 1st, 2015 ban list has been revealed and posted on Konami's official Yu-Gi-Oh website. And if you've been living under a Yu-Gi-Tube rock, then you probably haven't seen all the ban list reaction videos and discussion videos that other people posted yesterday. However, I am the late bloomer. I did not wake up on time to the party. So these are my ban list review discussion things in brief. There is a link to the ban list in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. Anyway, though, alright, so as for cards that were banned, well, there's only one card banned, and it was Super Polymerization. This is a decision that I can get behind. The card's a bit unfair, it's like a quick play spell, and it can take your opponent's monsters during their turn or your turn. During the battle phase, you can chain it to stuff, they can't chain back. Kind of an unfair card, especially in the pocket of Shadal's, who already had 6 fusion cards, 3 of which were already, quick play, and so they could already, kill you in their turn in the middle of the battle phase unexpectedly, so now it's one less way. So I can get behind the decision to get rid of the card. So for limited cards, first up we've got Artifact Morale Tech. Now, this is a decision that I think people were probably wanting maybe 3, 4, 5 months ago, when artifacts were more of a prominent thing in the meta where everybody was running them. But I'm still in agreement about this decision. I never really liked the Morale Tech, or the artifact engine, if you could call it that, the 2 or 3 Morale Tech with the 2 or 3 Sanctum thing. I like that this doesn't completely shut down the ability to run pure artifacts. They didn't hit Sanctum. And I like that artifacts now can't just be thrown into every deck. Now, for some people, that's probably, depressing because maybe they like running artifacts, especially in more fun decks like Artifact Windups, for example, was something that I really enjoyed. But, this is the thing about this decision is it feels like Konami was a bit behind the times with this. This should have probably been hit in October, but they decided to hit it now, so c'est la vie. Next card is Dark Strike Fighter. It was banned, but now it's limited. This makes sense because it just got a recent errata that heavily balanced the card, so it only makes sense for it to come back on. So it probably could have come back to 3 and wouldn't have mattered, but wanted to be safe. Good guy, Konami. Next, we have a spell that actually came off the ban list, and that is Snatch Steal. This is the big card that a lot of people have been talking about. This is important. This does mean a lot. Snatch Steal is that equip spell that you equip to an opponent's monster, take control of it, and during each of your standby phases, you take 1,000 damage. And the reason why it was banned, outside of being a monster stealing card, is that you could bounce this card back to your hand and the monster would stay under your control. So if you had something like Duloran, you could bounce this card back to your hand and keep their monster and then activate it again and rinse repeat. So for this to go to 1 is kind of an eyebrow lifter. I do think it will become a staple in every deck. There's kind of no reason not to run it. It's more, ways to get rid of cards on your opponent's side of the field. If you take something like a Winda or a Construct, that can be a really big deal. So I do like the idea of it, but I think it'll just be another staple. I think that it kind of says something about the game that we've moved to a point where this card isn't actually all that broken. We do have 3 MSTs, and certain decks like Burning Abyss have their Raigeki breaks and other little outs to this. Shadal's will probably be able to chain an El Shadal fusion if they have it. Little things like that. So this card isn't outlandishly broken. I'm sure there will be some decks that can abuse it, but if you're making your deck around abusing this one copy of Snatch Steal, then that may not work out for you. Anyway, that's all for limited. So the cards that went to 2, Honest went to 2. This is a big deal. I was one of those players who played in the triple Honest format, and I know how scary it was. The looming threat of Honest always being in the Lightsworn player's hand. Well, now, I guess it's going to be Lightsworns, but also Satellar Knights, who will have a second Honest. And this may have had something to do with the fact that the artifact part got slightly limited. Probably not much. But, yeah, Too Honest is scary. You will not want to attack light monsters anymore, just willy-nilly at least, not unless you have like a backup plan. So this is a big deal. It is a boost for Satellar Knights. Will it make them competitive? No, it doesn't. Well, I mean, they're competitive, obviously, but will it make them, like, drastically better? No, because, you know, they still have the same issues that they've always had against Shaddolls and Burning Abyss and Cleforts. But this is really exciting, especially with the lower tier light decks, like Battery Men or something like that. Goyo Guardians at 2, I don't think this is a huge deal. It's hard to even fit 1 in most extra decks these days, so fitting 2 is going to be really tough. Only a few decks where that really is going to be even like a feasible decision, so this card to 2 isn't too crazy. And one of the big ones to me is Dark Hole is now at 2. So this means that we have 2 Dark Holes and a Raigeki. And to put that into context, there are 2 Raigekis and 4 Dark Holes effectively in every match, or possibly, you know, I don't think everybody will be running a Raigeki and double Dark Hole. But it is interesting, and this does say a lot to me about how much power creep has been in the game. The fact that, you know, we can have a card that was banned for a long time at 2, and then another card that was banned for a really long time at 1. You know, all these heavy, like, field-wiping destruction cards are present, and the fact of the matter is, Shaddolls and Burning Abyss and Cleforts don't really care. So, this is almost like, I mean, maybe you could say it's like a buff to lower tier decks, and that they have more outs, but it also means that, like, lower tier decks will have that much harder of a time competing, because, you know, whereas those top 3 decks I mentioned don't really mind getting hit by a Raigeki or a Dark Hole, in a low tier deck, if you get hit by a Dark Hole, that sucks, because you have to fight for the field presence and advantage that you do get, and for these cards to just be running around means that, like, these can be blowout cards. So I don't know, it's an interesting thing. I'd like to see where it goes. I don't think, like, 2 Dark Hole will be staple in every deck, but Yang Zings will definitely like it. And a lot of cards went to 3. Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind went to 3. It was a 2 on the last list. 3, sadly, I don't think this means like Blackwings are going to be tier 1 or anything, but it does mean that Blackwings can be run a little bit more competitively now. It's hard to... They still have some fundamental flaws, you know, things like Winda and Construct are still just going to not care, you know, Fire Lakes and Chainable Traps from Burning Abyss, still going to deal with them, Cleforts. But it does make them one of the higher up tier 2 decks now, I guess. Now that you can really have lots of Gales to go through, you now have your 3 Gales, your 3 Whirlwind, and this is one of those things that people like have always been saying. It's like, you know, if you put Gale back to 3, Blackwings are back. And you can even say Darkstrike Fighter is back too, so Blackwings are really back, except they're not, because the game's moved on. Mermail Abyss Gun's at 3. This is kind of interesting. I think this was partly because Wolfbart came back to 3. So, like, you know, the card that Firefist lost back in April came back to 3, so it only makes sense that the card that Mermail's lost back in April can also come back to 3. Maybe that was the mode of thinking. Don't ask me. But, that did happen. I think that this is something to keep an eye out for. Mermails were never completely, like, obsolete, but, they just weren't always able to handle Shaddolls, really, and things like that, and so it only got worse. But 3 gun is nice. Mermails can now make much more explosive plays, much more frequently, so that's neat. I'm sure prices will probably rise a bit because of that. Reborn Tengu's at 3. This is something that a lot of people have gotten kind of excited about, because not only is Reborn Tengu at 3, but a lot of the whole plant engine, the whole Tengu plant bit is back, you know. Formula Synchron's at 3. Global is at 1 again. You know, we've got Goyo back. Cards are coming back that would make that deck sound like it's very good. Will it be able to manage in the current climate? Not so sure. But, it'll be nice to see Synchro decks be able to use it again. And, wow, computer messed up there for a second. And just those decks that, you know, use Tengu. Heroes were able to use Tengu for a while. Now that Stratos is gone, it's kind of hard. There are other decks too, so it's a neat addition. Like, this helps a lot of lower tier decks actually, because it's sort of like the hands, except the hands are better than this card in a way. So I don't know. That's the thing about the power creep, huh? Reasoning's at 3. I don't really care about this card. I know some people are saying, like, newer decks, like Infernoids and things, are going to make this card really, really devastating, but until then, it seems like it's just Reasoning at 3. No one's running it at 2, so... And lastly, the Transmigration Prophecy is back. Card shouldn't have been on the list for a long, long time. The game's moved past the point of silly non-deck out loops, so... Alright, so, in review, I think that this is an interesting ban list. It doesn't particularly solve a lot of the problems I think people were complaining about. If you remember, I recently did a video where I asked some players what they thought would be on the ban list, and a lot of people were hoping that either Tour Guide or Fire Lake or Dante or something got hit, or, you know, maybe El Shadal Fusion or Shadal Fusion, maybe even Winda or Construct to 1. You know, so it's interesting to see that none of those cards were really hit. And Vanity's Emptiness, which is one of the big sort of spotlight cards, was not hit. So it's weird. If you watched my previous ban list prediction or discussion videos, you'll know that I think that Konami is sort of taking this approach of deal with it yourself, where instead of, you know, using the ban list to hit these cards and balance them for us, they're just sort of releasing new, better cards and creeping old cards out and just sort of having us adapt. Because it's like what I said about the hands. You know, Fire and Ice Hand at first were major threats, and then we just sort of stopped caring. And same with like Traptrix Mermelio, which a lot of people will complain about for a long, long time. It's no longer really a major thing. It's kind of played in lower tier decks. So, Vanity's Emptiness, I guess Dark Hole could be considered another way to get around Emptiness to ensure that you will always have like an out to it. I don't know. It's an interesting ban list. It didn't address issues I thought it would address. I'm not angry at it. I think it's fine. I think it's different. I think that it does make more decks viable, and that's never a bad thing. But I think that part of this was influenced just by the fact that they're not quite done promoting Shadals and Burning Abyss, and obviously Cleforts. So maybe in March, when we're looking forward to that April ban list, we might actually see a bit more murmurings of these top tier decks, these current top tier decks getting hit, especially since the Necroz and other things will be kind of in the spotlight. So for now, I will say this ban list gets like a 3 stars out of 5. Losing a star for not really dealing with problems, and maybe losing another star for not really helping us deal with the current issues, even in an alternative way. But that's nitpicking. What do you guys think of this ban list? Please leave it in the comments. I was very surprised. I don't think anybody quite saw this ban list coming, so that's very good. It's good to see that Konami still can keep us, you know, on our toes. And that concludes this video. Be sure to check out the ban list for yourself. There's a link in the description. Also, thanks for 10,000 subscribers, guys. Forgot to mention that. I'm going to do a more formal celebration later. And I'm also looking forward to just uploading a lot of cool, different stuff in 2015. It's going to be great. Lastly, check out my new video game channel, Paul Plays. I'm currently doing a Let's Play of New Super Mario Bros. U, and it's going really well. I'm proud of it. And I've also done other games. So check it out if you're into video games and want to support me. That's all. So, again, leave some comments. What do you guys think of this ban list? What's the meta going to be? I mean, outside of the big 3 more or less staying where they are, what's the meta going to look like? I kind of want to know. So, let's talk in the comments, and I will catch you guys later. See ya.